Hey y'all, it's Megan. If you're returning to my channel, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome aboard. So today I'm going to be doing something kind of fun. We are returning to the Skipper Test Kitchen. So I wanted to try out the gingerbread recipe from the Grand Floridian. So I have found it. It's on D23's website. I will link it in the description down below for you if you want to give it a try yourself. We'll see how this turns out. If you've watched me do any test kitchen stuff before, you know that I am not like the greatest with things in the kitchen. So we'll see if it turns out okay. The first thing you need to do is you need to start with, as most cookie recipes, you need to cream your sugar and butter. So they say to start off with softened butter, and unless you like to sit around with your butter and just like hanging out to get to room temperature, I'm sure some people do that. I like to say I'm making cookies now, and so I have to grab cold butter out of the fridge and then microwave it for a few seconds. So that's what I've done. Just put it in there for about 30 seconds, flipping it every 10 seconds, got it to where it's soft. Now we're going to put it in the old stand mixer. That's a fun story. Actually, my mom did not think that KitchenAid was worth it when KitchenAid was first a thing. She's like, there is no way I'm paying that much for a mixer. She had the same mixer for forever and a half, but gingerbread is so hard. It's such a thick dough that when she would make it when I was a kid, she actually, her old little, it was a blue stand mixer. I don't know why I remember that it was blue, but it was. She burnt it up. Like, it started smoking, the motor just like completely got burned because the gingerbread was so hard to mix. And she got a stand mixer, and that was about 25 years ago, and it's the same stand mixer that she's had since then. So KitchenAid, definitely worth it. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, so we have put the butter in there. That's 2 sticks of butter, and now we need 2.5 cups of confectioner's sugar. That's nice and fluffy, nice and creamed. So then we're gonna add 2 eggs to that, and then we're gonna go ahead and mix that up as well. Okay. So now in a separate bowl, we're going to go ahead and put in all of the dry ingredients, which there's actually not that many more dry ingredients. It's almost all spices at this point. So we're going to put all of that into this bowl and then kind of get that mixed up before we actually put it into the mix. So we're going to start with a 1.25 teaspoons of baking powder. Oops, let me adjust that. 1.25 teaspoons of baking powder. Need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Three and 2/3 cups of just regular all-purpose flour. So now the rest of it is just all spices. And there's a couple that are kind of not hard to find, but they're not the ones that you normally probably have in your cabinet. You know, everyone probably has ground ginger and cinnamon, those kinds of things. Coriander is pretty normal, and ground clove, but it also calls for ground fennel and star anise. I've watched a lot of Great British Baking Show, and I still don't know how that is pronounced, but I have had trouble. I don't know if it's just because everyone in the world is baking right now, or if I just live where there is not like fancy spices. I don't know, but I was not able to find like whole star anise seeds or ground fennel. So I found just the little jars of like fennel seed and the actual seeds from the star anise instead of the actual pod. So I have just taken those puppies and put them in the old coffee bean grinder, ground them up, and now we have ground anise and ground fennel. So I'm gonna call that good. I'm gonna say that that's probably not gonna affect the flavor that much if it's not exactly what we needed. So that is a teaspoon of the anise and 2 teaspoons of the fennel. Go ahead and toss that in. My husband just walked through and said it smells like ginger in here, which is funny because I haven't even opened the ginger yet. It's just, these smells are the smells of gingerbread. So you go ahead and your mind tells you this is ginger smell. So for the ginger, you need 1 teaspoon of that, and that's just ground ginger. like I said, some of this you do actually just have in your pantry. Isn't it interesting that you call it gingerbread and there's literally 1 teaspoon of ginger in the whole thing? Anyway, so there's the ginger going in, and we need mace. Now, I was not entirely sure what mace was. Had to Google that sucker, because to me mace is like pepper spray, like, you know, you carry in your purse and like, anyway. So I looked it up, and it's actually just like a different part of what we know as nutmeg. So I could not find mace because, once again, I live where there's no fancy spices. So I'm just going with ye old nutmeg, and we'll just use that and hope that it is close enough. It's in the same family, so hopefully it doesn't destroy the flavor completely. I highly doubt it will, especially because we need a 1/4 teaspoon of that, which, can you see that? Like, that's like the size of my pinky now. That's so little. So hopefully that doesn't do too much damage, but do a 1/4 teaspoon of the nutmeg or mace if you can get that. Maybe that's just what mace is called, or what nutmeg is called in other countries. Could someone confirm? I don't know. So we put that in. We need 2½ teaspoons of the coriander. Why can't I open it? Who uses this little sprinkly top for like coriander and cinnamon and stuff? Like, aren't you always baking with that and need to like scoop stuff out? I always end up just taking that top off. 2½ teaspoons of that. And then another 2½ teaspoons of cinnamon. And the last thing is the ground cloves, which cloves is one of my favorite like holiday smells. I don't know why, but I've always really liked the smell of cloves. We used to put them, like stick them into oranges and hang them up from the ceiling, and it just made like a little natural air freshener. And I don't know why we only did that at Christmas time, but we did. So teaspoon of ground clove going in, and yep, that is everybody. So we've got everyone in the pool here. We're just gonna whisk that up. Let me grab my whisk. Toss the dry ingredients in over here and get that mixing up. So that is pretty much the first step in getting gingerbread. And now the longest part about doing gingerbread is this dough has to harden up some. So I'm gonna get some plastic wrap out. We're gonna wrap this dough ball up in that and then toss it in the fridge for a couple of hours. And then we will come back once that's kind of firm, and then we can actually make the cookies. So I will put this in the fridge, and then I'll see you back in a few hours. Okay, so we're back. I have chilled this, and then it says to take it out of the fridge and let it come back to room temperature a little bit, just so that it is a little more pliable. I'm not entirely sure why we do that step, but I'm sure there is a reason. So it is now at room temperature. It is pliable. I'm going to go ahead and take it out of its plastic wrap and pour it out onto my floured work surface here, which is not floured yet. Just a second. Let's get some flour down so she doesn't stick. And now we're gonna just plop this bad boy right out on here. Not terribly pliable, is it? Okay. And roll it out until it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, or as thin as I can get it. We'll go for that. Okay, so that's about as thin as I think I'm gonna get it. It's close. We'll call it good. Cut out my template, and we will see if my little idea here actually works. I'm gonna transfer these little guys once we get them cut out to my greased baking sheet over here, and once I get them all cut out, we're gonna pop them in the oven for like 15 minutes until they get kind of brown on the edges and they're nice and firm. Here they are. They are not quite as brown as I'm used to gingerbread being. I don't know if that's just the type of gingerbread this is, but they are cooked. I've let them cool for a few minutes. They're still a little warm because I like to try things when they're warm, but I'm gonna give this little penguin guy a little taste test. I just ripped off his wing. It's definitely spicy. You can taste the ginger. I actually think I taste the coriander more than anything, which is honestly not my favorite flavor. And they're not real sweet. You can dust a little milk wash and put some sprinkles of sugar on top. I didn't do that. I just left them plain just to see what the actual gingerbread was like. It tastes kind of like a shortbread cookie to me, just a very spicy one. So if you like very spicy, not hot obviously, but like flavorful, lots of spices going on, you'll probably like these. They're not my favorite, but it's not bad, so yeah, 7 out of 10. Okay, so I have finished my little project and I'm gonna go ahead and insert it here. So if you are interested in watching me create it, then I will put that footage in after this. And that way, if you don't care to see how I made it, then you can just go ahead and close the video out here. But I did make, here's a little hint. These are my Jungle Cruise ears from the mini main attraction collection. And I made a little Jungle Cruise boat. I'm calling it the Ginger Cruise. It did not turn out at all how I had envisioned it in my head, but you know, here it is. So there's our little Jungle Cruise sign, and this boat is the Meaghan Meg because why not? And my husband tells me that these look nothing like the critters that they're supposed to look like because my molds did not turn out right. But I think you can tell that this tall guy is a giraffe and my little orange stripy friend over here is a tiger. I know that those two don't coexist within that kind of, you know, plane, but whatever. It's an abstract piece of art. That's what we're gonna call it. So there is my Ginger Cruise made out of the Grand Floridian gingerbread recipe. And once again, I will link that down in the description if you are interested in making it for yourself. But yeah, if you want to watch me construct this hot mess, I'll put that footage in right here.